Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Jay Ranke here again. Hey, my apologies. I'm actually speaking to you from Rugby, North Dakota. We flew yesterday after I'd cut the first part of that video, and the video stopped. And the camera stopped, and I don't know exactly what the problem was. Sometimes I run out of storage on this phone. I regret you the bad video quality that I'm giving you, but I don't know what else to do. It's my only option right now. Forgive also, please, my use of uhs and ums. It's pretty pathetic, I know. This is not scripted. So I do thank you for listening despite those weaknesses and little noises I sometimes make. And I think, oh, crap. I'll tell you what, watching yourself on videos and exercising humility. I'll tell you what. I wanted to say a couple more things about Lisbon, though, even though I'm in North Dakota now. One of the things that was interesting is to find out, I asked somebody, well, where's your, Lisbon has been the capital of Portugal since the 1100s. And I said, where's your Capitol building? And they go, well, there's some buildings. What's interesting is they don't have a Capitol building the way we do. They have a parliament, a unicameral parliament that only has one body that meets. And of course, there's the president that's involved. But they actually meet since the late 1800s in an old monastery. And that represents an interesting aspect of Lisbon. There are a number of huge old monasteries that are now converted to be other types of buildings. I don't know what they all are, but for example, one of them is a huge museum. It is a beautiful structure. It's like two Gothic churches stuck together back to back. And it's some kind of a state museum. We did not go there. The lines were way too long. And quite frankly, in a 2-day trip, we didn't do a lot of museums. I'm going to mention the one that we did attend because I think it's unclear what I said just a few moments ago or on my last video. But there's not a Capitol building the way you and I are used to thinking of a Capitol building. Or like in England, there's the Parliament. Canada, there's the Parliament building. There is a building where they meet, where the Parliament meets, but it's not, doesn't have quite the emotional, symbolic image that a Capitol building has for us Americans and for many other countries as well. Let's see, rather than saying seeing all the old monasteries makes you wonder about how much money the church actually used to have, how much money the monastics used to have, because there are some dramatic buildings. And it's sad also to see how things are converted now to sort of a public use. That's a proper use of something, but it's always a little sad when a church or something gets used for something else. In my money, that's a little bit sad. A couple of other things that I learned about going to Portugal. This is Europe, okay? It's not like America, but finding a regular cup of coffee. People, I would see people, I go into coffee shops and they're drinking these little tiny cups of coffee. They're a little high-intense espresso. I'm sure they're good, but I just wanted a regular cup of coffee. I remember I have sort of a rule. I don't go to McDonald's in another country because I figure I'm part of this country. I want to do something that's not American. But I thought McDonald's will have a cup of coffee for me. So I go to a McDonald's that I found. I found one McDonald's. Happened to be at the time I needed some coffee. And they brought me my coffee, and it was smaller than a Dixie cup. I looked at it and I said, that's your coffee? And she goes, oh, Cafe Americano. And I said, yes, that's what I'm looking for. So she brings me a paper cup that has about 8 ounces of coffee, okay? I'm used to a 16 ounce to start with. Now, in my Keurig machine, it's a 10 ounce. But I get 3 Keurig cups a morning. I'm drinking my coffee. So get used to a different way of drinking coffee when you're in Portugal. I'm not criticizing. It's their culture. It's great. It's not what I'm used to. And I miss my coffee, okay? Something else. If you get to Lisbon, I do suggest what the motel clerk told us. We said, where would you suggest we go? And she said the Beleem section. I think I'm saying Beleem. I think it's based on the word Bethlehem, but it's the western part of Lisbon along the river, which is kind of a big bay there, beyond what I call their Golden Gate Bridge. If you saw another video, you might have seen that in the background that I drew attention to. It looks like the Golden Gate Bridge. It's beautiful. But beyond that, to the west of downtown, is where there's a number of monuments, the monument to the explorers that was dedicated in like 1960. I might have that wrong. There is the Beleem Tower, which is quite old, from the 1500s. And it's a beautiful area to walk, and you see other displays and quite a few museums. I was going to mention the museum of the coaches. That's not like players' coaches, okay, game coaches. It is like carriages. They have a carriage museum. I would never have thought to go there, but our desk clerk said it's really kind of a pretty museum. We went, and it's quite amazing. The coaches that these people had were amazing. And you sort of see the story of coaches as they were used over the centuries. You start to resent a little bit. I start to resent a little bit some of the opulence of some of those coaches, what the kings and queens had, and you kind of go, okay, people, this is a little bit over the top opulent. But it is interesting to find that, and they're very well laid out, very nicely displayed, but it's down in that Beleem area. So that would be one I would recommend. Something else, I think this is probably going to be the last thing I'm going to share about Lisbon, and I think Portugal in general, is the number of Brazilians that are emigrating to Portugal. At the pizza parlor, when I said we ate, the young man that served us, in fact, the owner and the young man were both Brazilian. I would not have known it because I can't tell ethnically that they don't look any different, and they will all speak Portuguese, though there is some difference in the Portuguese that they speak, though I don't really know those dialectical differences. The lady at the desk clerk that we talked to, she was from Brazil. And the man who took us to the airport, he is from Brazil, our driver to the airport. And what they say is there's so much more opportunity for them in Portugal that in Brazil, things are not good for them. So a lot of Brazilians have emigrated to Portugal. I don't know if there's any resentment on the part of the Portuguese towards this immigration. There's certainly the linguistic similarity, so there's a lot of shared culture, but it is notable that a lot of the people we met were actually Brazilian. Interesting too, one of the things that the desk clerk, the lady I talked with, she was actually a missionary in Kenya, and her husband, he was also very devoutly religious. They were Baptists. They came back to Brazil. He got his law degree and could not get a job. So they moved to Brazil, and he is now waiting for his paperwork. He's working in the motel as a housekeeper, waiting for all of his paperwork to clear, and so his registration, and he can become an attorney there in Lisbon. So that's an interesting aspect of the trip. One of the other things I wanted to say about our trip, and maybe I'll say it now rather than do another video, is how much fun it was to get to know people. It was really a lot of fun to get to know people. And both the people in Lisbon and the people on the cruise ship, to ask people, where are you from? And you start having these really nice conversations. And I'm now email friends with about 3 different people. And they've agreed to kind of look at my little writing project. One final personal note is that after spending, I think I said this in another video, 5 days, I decided, got to revise it. So I started on the same document. I started a new beginning, and I thought it was really going great. I looked at it and I go, it's not quite working. So I tried it again, and I looked at it again, and I'm going, this isn't working the way I want it to work. I get home, or I'm using Google Docs, and you can use Google Docs when you're offline, it'll save it. But I did a mistaken keystroke somewhere, and I lost everything I wrote. It's gone. Now, I did a lot of thinking, and I'm going to record some of the insights that I think I gained as I kind of process some stuff. I think I'm going to be able to reclaim some of that. And honestly, the stuff that I'd written wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, but it was a lot of work. And to have it just disappear, there you go, it's gone. So that's going to be another reconstruction, or maybe not, it's going to be a new writing project, and hopefully pull back some of what I'd hoped to say in my earlier project. Anyway, that's personal notes. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a little bit crazy to have telling you about our trip, but it is kind of fun to share. So you take care, goodbye, and God bless. Bye-bye.